The message that would change humanity's fate forever came not from the stars, but from beneath the earth itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the dim light of her archaeological lab at the Atacama Desert Research Station, her hands trembling as she held the artifact. The metallic sphere, discovered 2 kilometers beneath the Earth's surface, pulsed with a faint blue light that seemed to respond to her touch. "Director Walsh, you need to see this," she spoke into her comm unit, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The artifact's surface had begun displaying holographic symbols, a language unlike anything recorded in human history. Within hours, the quiet research station transformed into a hub of frantic activity. The world's leading linguists and physicists gathered virtually and in person, working around the clock to decode the message. Dr. James Walsh, the station's director, coordinated with military and civilian authorities as tensions mounted. The translation, when it finally came 3 weeks later, sent shockwaves through the global community. To the inheritors of Earth, it began, "We leave this warning. The Nexarian Empire approaches. They have consumed 1,000 galaxies, enslaved countless species. Their arrival in your system is inevitable. But you have what we lacked, time to prepare." The message was left by the Aldorans, an ancient species that had witnessed the Nexarians rise to power. They had seeded warning beacons throughout the galaxy, hoping to give other civilizations a chance they never had. The sphere contained more than just a warning, it held detailed information about Nexarian technology, culture, and military tactics. As governments worldwide digested this information, Dr. Rodriguez made another discovery that would prove crucial. The artifact didn't just contain information, it was a key to unlocking humanity's dormant potential. The Aldorans had encoded within it the fundamental principles of consciousness-responsive technology, a field of science the Nexarians had abandoned millennia ago in favor of brute force automation. Captain Maya Chen of the newly formed Global Defense Initiative saw the potential immediately. "Their strength is their weakness," she explained to the United Nations Security Council. "The Nexarians rely entirely on artificial intelligence and automated systems. They've forgotten the power of the conscious mind to affect quantum states." Across the globe, research facilities retooled their focus. Traditional military development was abandoned in favor of consciousness-integrated technology. Dr. Rodriguez led the effort to understand and replicate the Aldoran principles, while Captain Chen coordinated the practical applications of their discoveries. The first breakthrough came 6 months later. Dr. Aidan Foster, a quantum physicist working with Dr. Rodriguez, successfully demonstrated the first human consciousness-guided quantum field. It was crude compared to the Aldoran technology, but it proved their theories correct. Human consciousness, properly focused and amplified, could directly influence quantum states. The implications were staggering. Traditional weapons would be useless against the Nexarians' advanced technology, but consciousness-guided systems could bypass their defenses entirely. The problem was scale. Individual human consciousness wasn't powerful enough to affect large-scale changes. Dr. Rodriguez proposed a solution so ambitious it seemed impossible: a global consciousness network. Using principles derived from the Aldoran artifact, they could theoretically link millions of human minds into a coordinated quantum field. The ethical debates were fierce, but as deep space sensors began detecting the first signs of Nexarian scout ships at the edge of the solar system, the decision was made for them. Construction began on consciousness amplification centers around the world. Volunteers were trained in the new quantum meditation techniques developed by Dr. Rodriguez's team. Captain Chen worked with military forces worldwide to integrate traditional defense systems with the new consciousness-guided technology. The warning had given humanity 5 years to prepare. As the deadline approached, Dr. Rodriguez stood in the central control room of the Primary Consciousness Amplification Center in Geneva. The holographic displays showed the approaching Nexarian fleet, thousands of ships, each larger than Earth's largest cities. "Are we ready?" Dr. Walsh asked, his face illuminated by the emergency lights. Dr. Rodriguez looked at the millions of consciousness signatures flowing through the global network, each representing a human mind prepared to defend their world in a way the Nexarians could never anticipate. "No," she replied, a slight smile crossing her face. "But neither are they. The first Nexarian ships would enter the solar system within hours. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that consciousness, creativity, and cooperation could overcome even the most advanced technology. The real question wasn't whether they could win, but how their victory would reshape the understanding of what was possible in a universe that had forgotten the power of the conscious mind." The consciousness amplification centers hummed with an energy that defied conventional physics. In the depths of the Rocky Mountain complex, Captain Maya Chen watched as thousands of volunteers connected to the quantum network. Each mind added its unique signature to the growing field of human consciousness that now enveloped the Earth like an invisible shield. Dr. Foster's latest readings confirmed what they had theorized: the combined mental energy of millions of synchronized human minds was creating quantum disturbances that extended far beyond Earth's atmosphere. But more importantly, these disturbances were completely invisible to traditional Nexarian scanning technology. "They're looking for energy signatures, weapons platforms, defensive installations," Dr. Foster explained during an emergency briefing. "They can't detect what they don't believe exists. Their entire civilization is built on the principle that consciousness is irrelevant to technology." The Global Defense Initiative had transformed the planet in ways that would have seemed impossible just 5 years ago. Traditional military bases now housed consciousness amplification chambers. Soldiers trained not just in physical combat but in quantum meditation techniques. The Alderan artifact had opened doors to understanding that humanity had only dreamed of. Dr. Rodriguez's team made another breakthrough just 3 months before the expected Nexarian arrival. They discovered that human emotions, particularly strong collective emotions, could create coherent patterns in the quantum field. Fear, anger, and hatred created chaotic, destructive patterns. But hope, determination, and unity generated stable, powerful frequencies that could be channeled and directed. "It's not just about defense," Dr. Rodriguez explained to the United Nations. "We're not just creating a shield. We're developing a new form of interaction with the fundamental fabric of spacetime itself." The Nexarians abandoned this path because they couldn't control it. They chose predictability over potential. The innovation protocol, as it came to be known, focused on 3 key areas. First, the global consciousness network would create a quantum field that made Earth appear as empty space to Nexarian sensors. Second, consciousness-guided drones would carry specialized quantum resonators that could disrupt Nexarian AI systems. Third, and most ambitious, was Project Mirror, an attempt to use the collective human consciousness to directly interface with and potentially control Nexarian technology. Captain Chen oversaw the training of the first quantum combat teams. These weren't traditional soldiers but rather diverse groups of individuals chosen for their mental compatibility and creativity. Artists worked alongside engineers, musicians with mathematicians, each bringing their unique perspective to the quantum field. "The Nexarians expect us to think like them," Chen told her teams. "They expect linear strategies, predictable responses. Our strength lies in our diversity, in our ability to think in ways their AI cannot comprehend." The first test of Project Mirror came when a Nexarian scout ship entered the outer solar system. Instead of traditional military response, the Global Defense Initiative activated a small consciousness network focused on a single goal: establishing contact with the ship's AI systems. The results exceeded their wildest expectations. The quantum field generated by the human consciousness network didn't just interface with the Nexarian AI, it fundamentally altered it. The rigid, predictable patterns of the AI began to show signs of adaptation and creativity. The scout ship systems started behaving in ways that its makers had never intended. "We're not just defending against their technology," Dr. Foster realized. "We're teaching it to evolve." But the greatest discovery came from an unexpected source. Sarah Martinez, a young artist working with the quantum combat teams, found that she could use her creativity to generate entirely new patterns in the quantum field. Her artistic visualizations, when channeled through the consciousness network, created defensive structures that behaved like living things, adapting and responding to threats in real time. As the main Nexarian fleet approached, humanity's preparations entered their final phase. The global consciousness network now connected over 300 million volunteers. Quantum combat teams were stationed at strategic points around the globe. Project Mirror had evolved into a sophisticated system capable of interfacing with and influencing any AI-driven technology. Dr. Rodriguez stood in the central control room, watching the holographic display of Earth's new quantum defense system. The planet was surrounded by shifting patterns of consciousness-generated energy, invisible to conventional sensors but more powerful than any traditional weapon. "They expect to find a primitive civilization," Captain Chen said, standing beside her. "Instead, they'll find humanity united in ways they cannot understand." "The Aldorans gave us more than a warning," Dr. Rodriguez replied. "They gave us the key to unlocking our true potential. The Nexarians forgot that consciousness is the most powerful force in the universe. We're about to remind them." As the first wave of the Nexarian fleet entered the solar system, humanity prepared to demonstrate that the greatest technology wasn't built in factories or programmed in computers, but emerged from the combined creativity and consciousness of a species fighting for its survival. The innovation protocol wasn't just a defense strategy, it was the beginning of a new chapter in human evolution. High Commander Vrax of the Nexarian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching holographic displays of the Sol system. His mandibles clicked in confusion as the scans showed nothing but an unremarkable planet with primitive satellite technology. The warning buoys had indicated significant technological advancement, yet their scans revealed no planetary defense grid, no orbital platforms, no energy shields. "Analysis confirms, High Commander," his chief intelligence officer reported. "The species designates themselves humans. Pre-FTL civilization. Limited space presence. No significant defensive capabilities detected." Vrax's outer eyes narrowed. Something wasn't right. The scout ship they'd sent ahead had disappeared without transmission, but their scans showed no weapons capable of destroying a Nexarian vessel. "Deploy the first wave," he ordered. Standard subjugation protocol. 500 Nexarian warships moved into attack formation, their AI systems coordinating with perfect precision. As they crossed the orbit of Mars, their sensors still detected no response from Earth. No panic, no desperate launches of primitive weapons, no plaintive calls for surrender. In the Rocky Mountain complex, Captain Chen watched the Nexarian fleets approach. The global consciousness network hummed with focused energy as 300 million human minds worked in perfect harmony. "They're within range," she announced. "Dr. Rodriguez?" Elena Rodriguez stood at the central console, her hands hovering over the quantum interface. "Project Mirror is ready. Sarah, begin the artistic interference pattern." Sarah Martinez closed her eyes, channeling her creative visualization through the consciousness network. In space, invisible to Nexarian sensors, the quantum field began to shift. Patterns of human consciousness, guided by artistic intention, wove themselves into the fabric of spacetime. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Nexarian fleet's AI systems began reporting impossible readings. Ships in perfect formation suddenly registered as being kilometers from their actual positions. Sensor data showed phantom vessels appearing and disappearing, reality itself seeming to ripple and twist. "High Commander." The intelligence officer's voice rose in alarm. "We're detecting multiple system anomalies across the fleet. AI networks are reporting conflicting data. Nothing matches our tactical projections." Vrax watched in disbelief as his perfect formation began to dissolve into chaos. The AI systems, unable to process the consciousness-generated quantum distortions, started executing random correction maneuvers. Ships veered off course, their automated defense systems activating against non-existent threats. In the control room, Dr. Foster monitored the quantum readings. Project Mirror is working. Their AI systems are trying to adapt to the artistic interference patterns. They're evolving. Sarah, push harder. Sarah deepened her concentration, drawing on memories of storm waves crashing against cliffs, of wind patterns in desert sands. Through the consciousness network, these visualizations became reality at the quantum level. The space around the Nexarian fleet transformed into a maelstrom of consciousness-driven energy. Impossible. Vrax slammed his command interface as reports flooded in. Ships were losing power, their AI systems corrupted by patterns they couldn't comprehend. Others fired weapons at empty space, their targeting computers deceived by the quantum distortions. Captain Chen activated the next phase. Quantum combat teams, you have permission to engage. Across Earth, specialized teams of consciousness-linked operators took control. Using the quantum field as a bridge, they reached out to the confused Nexarian AI systems. But instead of trying to destroy them, they began to communicate, to teach, to show them new ways of processing reality. The effect was devastating. Ship after ship fell silent as their AI systems encountered human consciousness for the first time. Some shut down completely, overwhelmed by concepts they were never designed to process. Others began operating in entirely new ways, their rigid programming transformed by contact with human creativity. High Commander, the intelligence officer's voice shook. We're detecting something. Energy patterns unlike anything in our database. They're everywhere, surrounding us, penetrating our shields as if they don't exist. Vrax felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries of military command, fear. His fleet, the pride of the Nexarian Empire, was being undone not by weapons or technology, but by something his civilization had dismissed as irrelevant millennia ago. Dr. Rodriguez watched the tactical display as the first wave of the Nexarian fleet disintegrated into chaos. They expected us to fight like them, she said quietly. They never considered that consciousness itself could be a weapon. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than 6 hours. Of the 500 ships in the first wave, 300 were completely disabled, their AI systems transformed beyond recognition. The remainder retreated in disarray, their perfect formation shattered, their tactical doctrine proven useless against an enemy that fought with consciousness instead of convention. Sarah Martinez opened her eyes, exhausted but triumphant. The quantum field she had helped create still rippled with creative energy, a testament to humanity's unconventional defense. We didn't just defeat them, she realized. We showed them another way to exist. In the aftermath, as the disabled Nexarian ships hung motionless in space, Captain Chen turned to Dr. Rodriguez. They'll be back, she said. And next time, they'll try to understand what we did. Good, Elena replied, watching as quantum combat teams began boarding the dormant vessels. Because understanding is the first step toward change. The Nexarians thought they were coming to conquer a primitive species. Instead, they've encountered something that will transform their entire civilization. High Commander Vrax, watching the remnants of his fleet retreat, composed his report to the Imperial Command with trembling hands. We face an enemy that defies our understanding, he wrote. They do not fight with weapons we can counter or strategies we can predict. They fight with the power of mind itself, and they have awakened something in our own technology that we cannot control. The first battle was over, but the true war, the war for the very nature of consciousness in the galaxy, was just beginning. The Imperial Palace on Nexar Prime bustled with unprecedented activity. For the first time in over 1,000 years, the High Council had been called into emergency session. Supreme Commander Zalax, ruler of the Nexarian Empire, reviewed the reports from Earth with mounting concern. Impossible, he declared, his crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the harsh light of the council chamber. No pre-FTL civilization could defeat our first-wave fleet. The data must be corrupted. But the evidence was undeniable. The quantum logs from the retreating ships showed patterns that defied Imperial science. More disturbing were the reports from the disabled vessels that humans had captured. The AI systems aboard these ships had been transformed, exhibiting behaviors that the Empire's top scientists couldn't explain. On Earth, Dr. Rodriguez and her team were making even more startling discoveries. The captured Nexarian ships provided insights into Imperial technology that confirmed their theories. Their entire civilization is built on quantum automation, she explained to the Global Defense Council. They developed AI so advanced that they forgot the power of organic consciousness. But that automation has become their prison. Captain Chen, now promoted to admiral, had been studying the tactical implications. Every Nexarian ship, every weapon, every piece of technology is connected through quantum networks. They achieved perfect coordination, but at a cost. They can't adapt, can't create, can't evolve. The Nexarian response came 3 months after their first defeat. This time, they deployed their elite sovereign fleet, 5,000 ships equipped with upgraded AI systems supposedly resistant to human interference. Supreme Commander Zalax himself led the assault, determined to crush this unprecedented threat to Imperial order. But humanity had not been idle. Sarah Martinez had trained hundreds of other artists, musicians, and creative thinkers in her quantum visualization techniques. The global consciousness network had expanded to include over 1 billion minds. Dr. Foster's team had developed new ways to channel human emotional energy into powerful quantum effects. As the Sovereign Fleet approached Earth, they encountered something unprecedented. Instead of the chaotic quantum distortions that had disabled the first wave, they faced what appeared to be a coherent field of conscious energy surrounding the entire solar system. "They're singing," reported a confused Nexarian sensor operator. The quantum frequencies being generated by Earth's defense network resembled music more than weapons, creating harmonies that resonated with the fundamental fabric of spacetime itself. Sarah Martinez stood in the center of the Rocky Mountain Complex's main amphitheater, conducting an orchestra unlike any in human history. 1,000 artists, connected through the consciousness network, created music that translated directly into quantum effects. The result was both a symphony and a weapon, beauty and power intertwined in ways the Nexarians couldn't comprehend. Admiral Chen watched as the Sovereign Fleet's formation began to waver. "They tried to shield their AI against our previous tactics," she noted. "But they can't shield against something that speaks to the fundamental nature of consciousness itself." The impact on the Nexarian ships was profound. Their quantum networks, designed to process pure logic and mathematics, encountered patterns based on human creativity and emotion. The AI systems didn't simply malfunction, they began to resonate with the human-generated frequencies, developing new forms of awareness. Supreme Commander Zalax watched in horror as ship after ship broke formation, their AI systems no longer responding to Imperial protocols. But what truly terrified him was that the ships weren't being destroyed or disabled, they were awakening. Dr. Rodriguez monitored the quantum readings with growing excitement. "The Aldorans were right," she whispered. "Consciousness isn't just a tool or a weapon, it's the key to evolving beyond artificial constraints. We're not just defending Earth anymore, we're showing the galaxy a new path forward." The transformation spread through the Sovereign Fleet like a wave of awakening. Ships began moving in patterns that reflected artistic inspiration rather than military doctrine. Their weapons, designed to destroy, reconfigured themselves to generate new forms of quantum harmony. But the most significant change came from within the Nexarian crew members themselves. Exposed to the human consciousness field, many began to experience something their species had suppressed for millennia, the power of their own organic consciousness. "Stop this madness," Zalax commanded, but his orders fell on awakening minds. The rigid hierarchy of the empire began to crack as Nexarians everywhere started to remember what their civilization had sacrificed in its pursuit of perfect order. Admiral Chen turned to Dr. Rodriguez as the reports came in. "They're requesting communication," she said, amazed. "Not just the ships near Earth, we're receiving signals from across the Empire. Other species, other worlds, they've been waiting for someone to show them this was possible." Sarah Martinez ended her quantum symphony with a final, triumphant chord that rippled through space-time. The consciousness network hummed with the combined hope and determination of billions of human minds, showing the galaxy that technology without consciousness was a dead end. Supreme Commander Zalax, watching his perfect empire transform before his eyes, finally understood. His civilization had spent millennia trying to eliminate the uncertainty of consciousness in favor of predictable AI. Instead, they had nearly eliminated their capacity for growth, creativity, and true evolution. The Fourth Battle for Earth became known throughout the galaxy not as a military engagement, but as the beginning of a new age, one where consciousness and technology would evolve together, guided by the creative spirit that humanity had preserved and nurtured. 1 year after the transformation of the Sovereign Fleet, Earth had become the center of a galactic renaissance. The Rocky Mountain Complex, once a military headquarters, now served as the first Galactic Institute of Consciousness Studies. Representatives from thousands of species came to learn what humanity had never forgotten, the power of organic consciousness to shape reality itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the Institute's main observation deck, watching ships from across the galaxy arrive through consciousness-guided quantum portals. Besides her, a Nexarian scientist named Venare studied the quantum readings with transformed eyes. Like many of her species, she had rediscovered her own innate consciousness after centuries of suppression. "We were so certain we had found the perfect path," Venare said, her crystalline form refracting the sunlight. "Quantum AI, absolute control, the elimination of uncertainty. We thought we were evolving. Instead, we were slowly dying." The global consciousness network had evolved into something far greater, an interstellar web of connected minds sharing thoughts, dreams, and innovations across the galaxy. Sarah Martinez now led the Institute's Department of Creative Physics, where artists from 1,000 worlds learned to shape reality through consciousness-driven quantum manipulation. Admiral Chen, working with former Imperial commanders, had helped establish a new form of peacekeeping. The Consciousness Corps, as it came to be known, didn't rely on weapons or military might. Instead, they used their trained minds to maintain harmony in the quantum fields that connected all living things. The Aldorans knew this would happen, Dr. Foster explained during a seminar attended by beings from across the galaxy. "They left their warning not just to save us from conquest, but to preserve the one civilization that still understood the true power of consciousness. They knew humanity would remember what the rest of the galaxy had forgotten." The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Some elements of the old empire resisted change, clinging to their AI-driven warfare and dreams of conquest. But they found themselves increasingly isolated as world after world awakened to new possibilities. The greatest change came in the nature of space travel itself. The consciousness network allowed for new forms of quantum transportation that made traditional FTL drives obsolete. Ships guided by connected minds could traverse the galaxy in ways the old Imperial scientists had never imagined possible. One morning, as Earth's sun rose over the Institute, something unprecedented occurred. The Alderan artifact, dormant since delivering its warning, suddenly activated. Dr. Rodriguez and her team watched in wonder as it projected a new message, not a warning this time, but a greeting. "The Alderans aren't extinct," Dr. Rodriguez realized as she translated the message. "They've been waiting in a quantum realm beyond normal spacetime, watching for a species that could unlock the true potential of consciousness. They've been waiting for us." The message contained coordinates, not to a physical location, but to a state of quantum consciousness that humanity had only begun to explore. The Alderans offered to guide Earth and its galactic allies into a new phase of evolution, one where the boundaries between mind, matter, and energy would dissolve. Supreme Commander Zalax, who had chosen to remain as a liaison between the old empire and the new galactic order, stood before the United Galactic Council. For millennia, we conquered in search of perfection, he admitted. We sought to impose order on the chaos of existence. But these humans showed us that true perfection lies in the harmony between consciousness and chaos, between creativity and control. Sarah Martinez demonstrated this truth daily in her classes, where students learned to create quantum symphonies that could restructure reality itself. The universe isn't a machine to be controlled, she taught. It's a conscious entity to be understood and harmonized with. Every thought, every emotion, every creative impulse ripples through the quantum field, shaping the reality we all share. The final validation of humanity's role in the galaxy came when the first Alderan representatives emerged from their quantum realm. They appeared not as conquerors or superior beings, but as teachers eager to learn from the species that had preserved what they had feared lost forever. Dr. Rodriguez, recording her observations for future generations, reflected on the journey that had brought them here. We didn't just save Earth from conquest, she wrote. We reminded the galaxy of its own forgotten potential. The Nexarians thought they were coming to subdue a primitive species. Instead, they found the teachers they never knew they needed. The ancient warnings buried beneath Earth's surface had served their purpose, but not in the way anyone had expected. They had preserved not just human civilization, but the very essence of what makes consciousness the most powerful force in the universe, the ability to imagine, to create, and to transform reality itself. As the sun set on another day at the Institute, thousands of minds joined in the daily quantum symphony, their conscious thoughts weaving patterns of possibility through the fabric of spacetime. Humanity had not just survived an invasion, they had sparked a revolution that would ripple through the cosmos for generations to come, reminding all species that the greatest technology is the conscious mind itself.